Good morning, everybody. Today is September 25th. The time is 10:01 a.m. I'm welcoming you to our curriculum committee meeting. We have Ms. Heintel, Reverend Kirkpatrick, and myself present, and I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Oh, moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 3-0. I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 5th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you. Dr. Rogers, 24-25 Focus School Plan.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, board members. As I start to share my screen, we are seeking approval for our focus school plan, and Dr. Houlihan is going to kick us off with that. Good morning, Dr. Houlihan.
Good morning and good morning, board members. So we're here this morning to kind of go through a very quick presentation regarding our proposal for our focus schools, which have been traditionally called some of our lowest performing schools. You can go to the next slide. As a reminder, we started the base of this plan back in 2017 for a 2-year time frame, had a lot of support where we exited the majority of our low performing schools. The pandemic then hit. We had some that reversed back in. In 2023, we exited almost half, if not more, of our low performing schools using many of the strategies you'll see here. And then obviously with last year exiting East Union Middle School, which we're very proud of. Next slide. So these are the schools that we are talking about. As you might remember from the accountability presentation, we have 7 identified low performing schools. There are 10 on this list. You might be asking, well, if there's 7 schools, why is there 10? Marshville Elementary is one of our original focus schools, and we'd like to keep them in this plan. Porter Ridge Elementary School was very close to being identified as low performing, and we believe they need those additional treatments. And then we do not want East Union Middle School to regress, so they are going to continue in this plan as well. And historically, for the last 4 years, we have had a 7-step process or a 7-step plan. This year, we're proposing 6. The 7th one that is being eliminated is what we call differentiated compensation. While there still is a little bit of that in our 6 original schools, with the loss of ESSER funding, we simply do not have the funds to do a lot of the pay for performance model that we've done the past 2 to 3 years. But these are the 6 concrete strategies that have proven both in research and in practice that has gotten us a tremendous amount of growth and results. And our team is prepared to kind of go through them with you one at a time very quickly. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Tyson, I believe, and he's going to start with effective leadership.
Yeah, so good morning, board members. Of course, when we talk about effective leadership, we're talking about the building leadership. We're talking about the principal and assistant principal. Of course, executive coaching will be a part of that. It'll be provided by our district team, led by our school performance directors, who will be really held accountable by myself, but also they'll be given support through public impact. You will see later we're asking for approval, and Ms. McLam is here for a public impact contract for this school year to really support teams for our schools and our school leaders that are on this list. Of course, data analysis, the administrative team being involved in the data analysis process, which will then in turn lead to active engagement in professional learning communities. You also see here we will have a professional learning community for these principals where they'll be able to share common best practices, work together, discuss common strategies as well as common issues that they're having. We do require assistant principals to attend professional development at our AP Academy as it relates to focus school work. And then, of course, if you remember last year, we began the process of the transformation leadership pipeline. We will continue with that this year as well.
So the effective teacher strategy really focuses on teachers' impact with student learning and growth. And so having effective professional learning communities or PLCs will promote effective teachers. So we will support the PLC development and showcase effective PLCs from schools in order to share best practices and lessons learned around lesson planning. That lesson planning process will continue, and something we're calling teachbacks. Now, teachbacks allow teachers to practice strategies prior to standing in front of students. And so that practice occurs within the PLC session. Of course, we will continue the multilingual learner professional development and the use of common formative assessments with teachers. Furthermore, we will conduct instructional walkthroughs that will consist of a district team and, of course, the school team, and that provides observation and feedback through this walkthrough process in classrooms, and that will help to increase teacher effectiveness. What we will do is take the patterns and trends from those walkthroughs and incorporate it into our district-led PLCs. On the screen, you do see the chart, the table with the priorities for our district-led PLCs this year. And so the feedback from the walkthroughs will be fed into the district-led PLCs and the school-based PLCs as well. And finally, super evaluations that are required for our low-performing schools will continue. Strategy 3 is all about our daily intensive tutoring model. This is the cornerstone of our focused school plan. You'll see the grade levels on the screen for the math tutoring, and we will utilize a whole grade model, which means that all the students in that grade level participate in the tutoring sessions. And this is a decision based on our interim research brief with our partnership, our research partnership with UNC Chapel Hill, which indicates that there is a greater impact utilizing the whole grade model. So for that, we will be using the one-time county funding to implement this whole grade model and to support the whole grade model. Our other essentials include required onboarding and monthly professional development for our tutors and the use of the provided curriculum, the curriculum binder.
So with positive culture and climate, we're really thinking about district-led professional development for these schools. Really, we have a couple of those that we engage in. I've spoken about public impact earlier and the work that we do with public impact and have done in the past, but also Champs and Foundations, which is really safe and civil schools. And it's school-wide classroom expectations and procedures for these schools to make sure that we keep order in our schools. And we give our teachers a playbook as to how to manage student behavior so we can engage them in the learning process. And it's something that we're really excited about this year is TCIS training, which, of course, when we speak to acronyms, that's really de-escalation training. We do have a team at the Wolf School that has been trained and are trainers, and they are going to be able to provide that to us in-house so we do not have to go outside for that training. So we're really excited about that. When we talk about the KPI process or key performance indicators, just think about each grading period tracking failure rates, attendance, benchmark performance on testing data, discipline and cultural data. And then, of course, you're very well aware of the college engagement, college and career engagement strategies that we have in the Monroe cluster. We have the Health Sciences Academy, we have the Ag Tech Academy at Forest Hills, and then, of course, we have the Sustainable Energy Academy in the Parkwood cluster.
So our fifth strategy is regarding more time in school, and that can look several different ways. It can be before and after school tutoring at the school site. It can include some jump starts in the key transition grades. So the summer before kindergarten, the summer before sixth grade, the summer before ninth grade. We also offer summer programming, and an example of that is the Read to Achieve reading camp.
And then with our wraparound services, all of our students have access to support in various capacities. On the screen, you can see just a list of various examples that are provided to our focus schools. Just to highlight, we continue our partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services, that collaborative. Of course, the mental health support through teletherapy, which will be at all of our middle and high schools. District lead counselors. And one thing that we do give our focus schools is the choice between a mental health therapist and a behavior therapist. And then also we have agency partnerships for the elementary with play therapy.
So that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Morning. I do. Thank you all for this presentation. I know, let me go through my notes. You all mentioned about the in-house, let me see, strategy one, effective leadership, executive coaching provided by the district team. So that there's no outside sources or venues that we would be able to use to help support with the leadership, with this developing the effective leadership in strategy one. And I'm asking, not saying that in-house, but have you all considered maybe tapping into an outside source that may be able to come in and provide these opportunities?
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
go
can
ahead.
start, and then Dr. Tyson, you can add on. So for about the past 2 to 3 years, that outside entity has been Public Impact. They've been in our schools doing work, doing executive coaching. We'd like to make a shift this year to have them almost like a train the trainer or building the capacity at the district level so that we can eventually exit them and have enough capacity in-house to do this work with our leaders. So this is really kind of a transition year for us with working with them. And so that is still that kind of third party. We're just shifting their focus to work with the district internal team that will be there supporting the school leaders. We also have had DPI assigned coaches that have worked with 2 of our schools in the past. That will continue through this first semester, I believe, and then we'll have to make a decision as to whether or not we keep that individual. And that was directly assigned to Monroe Middle School and East Union Middle School last year.
Correct. And DPI used ESSER funds to pay for that, and they've been able to sustain it through December, but it will sunset in December. But the answer about Public Impact was exactly what I was going to say. Thank you.
So strategy 2 about effective teachers. I think this is I know this is a conversation that is pretty much consistent across the board, needing teachers and effective teachers, teachers who understand the culture of the schools that we are focusing on today. What, other than what you all have presented here, what are some other strategies that you all are working on to help this component of making sure that we have effective teachers, again, who understand culture, who understand their skill set? I know a teacher, when they first get in there, it's one of those things where you're not a phenomenal teacher when you get in the classroom. You may think you're a super teacher, but at the end of the day, you are evolving and developing. I get it. But I'm really, and my questions, because the majority of our schools that we are focusing on are in District 1. And it is a major concern that every year, a lot of these schools are our target schools. And this is not just a concern from me, but it is a community concern. Conversations are being had about what's going on with our schools in District 1. So I'm really, really wanting to know and I've had one-on-one conversations, but those who are listening, as well as reminding me again, what are some of the things that we're doing to make sure that we have males in the classroom who can help with developing relationships with our young men who are in these schools, who, for whatever reason, are seeing a negative representation, but in that school where so many children are in a safe place and their teachers become their saviors and their heroes. What are we doing to bring men of color in these schools and teach, bringing the right people in here to teach these kids? Because a lot of the schools that we're focusing on are very high populated with Black and brown students. And a lot of our students who are Black and brown do not see males and do not see those positive representations in the classroom. So that's a major concern of mine. That, are we focusing on trying to bring in those effective teachers, which will continue another conversation about the lack of pay. We all know that teachers do not get paid what they should, and that hinders, I believe, the right teachers to be in the classroom. So what are we doing outside of what you all have put on this sheet right here? What are we all doing? And again, what the community can help to support this initiative?
So there's a lot to unpack there. Let me try to begin. So I'll just give three different examples. One, as we begin our recruitment plan for both December grads as well as in the spring, our HR team and our recruitment team are doing a lot to figure out where we can draw talent in from, not just in these schools, but across the district, including, certain categories like males that might be interested in becoming teachers for us. So as we are going about, our recruitment fairs in colleges, out in our communities, that is top of mind in terms of strategic recruitment. Number two, I would point to our beginning teacher support model. When we reorged our HR team, that team is now positioned under Casey Rimmer to have more of an academic and performance mindset as more of like beginning teacher coaches, as opposed to just kind of compliance and checking boxes for what the state requires us to do. We think that approach and that model is going to help a lot of our beginning teachers, which in many of these schools, you have more beginning teachers and you have more alternatively licensed teachers. So differentiating the way we're supporting them obviously has to be pretty important. And then third, I would say that as we carry out this year and look to budget for next year, obviously compensation, not just for these schools, but for all of our schools, is going to come up again at both the local and the state level. And I think we've got to continue advocating for what our teachers need and or looking at strategic staffing that might be specific to these schools. So these are all ideas and strategies that we're kind of formulating, and we'll be coming back to the board on with some recommendations in due time. The last thing I'll say is, from a community perspective, we want you in our schools. So if you're listening, if you listen to this later, please volunteer. Sign up to be a mentor. Sign up to be a volunteer in our schools. Read to children. Be part of Read With You. A couple of years ago, we partnered with Monroe Police, who have a young, I can't remember what it's called, but a group of young cadets and recruits that began a mentoring initiative for some of our schools in the Monroe area. Though that's just one example. So beyond what you've seen in the presentation, yes, there are some other things happening strategically for individualized schools, but it's a larger conversation, I think, that we need to continue having.
I know you mentioned about fairs, recruiting teachers. How many HBCU fairs are you all planning on attending this year?
I don't have the list in front of me, but that we have had discussions about going to specific universities, including HBCUs. I can ask Dr. Pellew to send that to this committee once that recruitment plan is finalized.
Okay.
Reverend Kirkpatrick, I would, the only thing I would add to is the level of content resource support that we are able to provide the schools, so that some of that long range work pacing, alignment to standards, that is a heavy lift for teachers. And so at the district level, we provide that for our teachers, so that when they get into the PLC process, they can actually do the work and not be searching for the resources. That's another added component.
Did you have any other questions, Reverend Kirkpatrick?
I did. One more.
Okay.
You mentioned about schools have a choice to either have mental health therapists or behavior therapists. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you all think that each school would need both?
So the 6 original focus schools that began this work in 2017, they have both. And that school, we can break that list down it's 6 out of the 10. They have both of those. It's those other 4 that get to have that choice based on their data.
I think all schools would need to have both of them, honestly. But okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
I just had a question about the transformation pipeline. Is that for employees interested in being assistant principals as well as principals?
No, ma'am. It is current assistant principals that go through an application phase. And then, of course, after the application, they have to be recommended by their principal. And then once they're recommended by their principal, if we feel their quality, they go through an interview phase, and then we select those individuals to go through a year-long process in prep. It's very similar to the principal pipeline program that we do with assistant principals in prep for the principalship, but it's much more targeted and focused on these 6 turnaround strategies. So they've self-identified that they're interested in working in some of our focus schools.
Okay. Have we thought about adding in some sort of professional development? I know we have an AP interest.
We have an aspiring administrators for current classroom teachers.
Right.
We can identify that they're interested in school administration. They can then come and attend the meetings monthly, and they go through professional development. And it really exposes a classroom teacher who may be thinking about stepping out into school leadership as to the strategies and just the different components of school leadership. Because when you're in the classroom, you have one idea, but once you see it from the angle of a real school administrator, it could be very different.
Okay, thank you. Any
Yes,
other
ma'am.
questions? Need a motion to send this to the full board?
Oh, Sarah, give me 1 minute.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I apologize. What support in our elementary schools and some of our middle schools, what support, I know we focused on the teachers, but what support do we provide for TAs?
So actually this year, HR and Dr. Meggett, there was a request for classified professional development, and they have rolled that out. And we have really a year-long series that has multiple opportunities for instructional assistants that they can sign up. It actually is fresh off the press. It's new this year, and it will begin here within the next month.
Mm-hmm. And the TAs get to choose. There's the option of choice. So there's a full menu of training that has been offered this year. So they get to tailor it to their interest as well.
Tutors as well? Are there anything for tutors?
Now, tutors absolutely receive training, a robust onboarding training when they begin tutoring, and then there's monthly professional development provided for all tutors.
Yeah. Okay. You know, when I was a TA and a tutor, I didn't have that opportunity, so I'm glad that they have it now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion to send this to the full board?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 3-0. Okay, executive coaching, public impact.
Yeah, so next we have the public impact executive coaching contract. So this supports the focus school plan as we have described. You received the memo outlining the details, and Ms. McLam is here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
None.
No? Need a motion, please, to send this to the full board?
So moved.
Are you muted? Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 3-0. Sole source purchase, Riverside Insights.
Yes, ma'am. So we're seeking approval for the Riverside Insight sole source renewal. This provides the universal screener for AIG identification, and all the details were placed in the memo. And we do have Jessica Garner here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Can I get a motion to send this to the full board?
So moved.
Reverend Kirkpatrick, I think your volume is down. Oh, it's okay.
I have my Barry White voice going on.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 3-0. 24-25 EOC EOG summer program retesting proposal.
Yes, so that summer program retest proposal is next for approval, and I will turn it over to Dr. Tyson.
So yes, thank you, Dr. Rogers. So when you hear the term summer program, you really should be thinking EOG and EOC retesting each year. School districts are provided the opportunity to allow students who are not proficient on their initial EOG or EOC to do remediation outside the academic calendar. So yes, it has to happen in the summer. They can do remediation and then they can sit for the exam for a second time. So it is a retesting proposal that we have for you today. You may ask, why are you bringing this to us in September for October full board approval? The reason that we're bringing it to you now, and the state has graciously allowed us to have the application in the fall, is so when our students who are in first semester EOC classes at the high school are not proficient mid-year, they can immediately be notified. And then, of course, they can prepare to attend if they so choose in the summer. Many times when we lose contact with them after the end of first semester and they go into 4 new courses, it's hard to regain their attention as it relates to the courses that they are not proficient in. So the dates on the proposal on the memo would be remediation will be June 9th and the retest day would be June 10th and 11th. We only need 2 retest dates this year because, of course, science will go through the renorming process. So those scores will be delayed significantly. So students would not have their scores back in time to remediate and retest for biology, 5th or 8th grade science. So we're just asking for your approval to send this to the full board so we can move forward with the application and submit it to DPI. Dr. Slider is here with me if you have any accountability specific questions.
Tyson. So I know this is for this school year, but we have a not necessarily list, but we have record of those students previously who were challenged in their EOGs, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So with that being said, because there's a lot of components that could definitely affect a student from being effective on an EOG. Not just being academically proficient, but maybe anxiety or what have you. Along with this, maybe before, is there some type of maybe quarterly sessions that can be provided to help those students so that hopefully the number of students who may not do well and who would have to take these retake classes or what have you, that may be able to help decrease that number if we get ahead of it early? Because, yeah, we already know that we're going to have some students who will have to retake it. But to work toward now by looking at the data from last year, to target in on those students, to help them now, that may help us to decrease the numbers that we'll see in the summertime.
Right. So, I mean, thank you for that question. If you revert back to our focus school plan and we talked about the KPI process, so our schools are looking very closely at data from the previous school year initially, but then as we work through this school year, really more so on a quarterly basis, as you described, to look at benchmark data, to look at many aspects of data, attendance, discipline, so we can intervene early and often to provide resources for those students. So we're not just saying, okay, it's the end of first semester or it's the end of the school year, go do your best. So we're trying to work with those students and track their progression. What we would hope is even if a kid was not proficient last year, as we are intervening, as we were offering the tutoring, as we are working through the focus school plan, that they would make gradual increases towards that proficiency. I heard Dr. Slider do a presentation to all of our APs yesterday. Every student will not achieve proficiency. We do expect every kid to reach growth metrics. So we want kids to improve. And so that's why we start out early and often with our KPI process and intervene early. So yes.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Dr. Slider.
I was just going to say the only thing I would add to that, is we have a number of kids who come in over the summer, kind of to what you're addressing. We have a number of kids that come in over the summer after not scoring proficient during regular EOGs that come in over the summer and score level 4. And we even have had a few kids score level 5. And I'm always challenging the test coordinators to try to identify, what was it about the summer retesting environment that benefited those kids and may have attributed to them scoring not proficient during regular testing. So how can we adjust regular testing in the environment to try to help those kids do it better and do it well the first time so they don't have to come in for summer retesting? So I think that goes to what you're talking about is anxiety during testing, and just the general environment is how do we make that a little bit more, I don't want to use the word relaxing for kids because we don't want them to not take it seriously, but how do they not come in as anxious to the point where they're not passing and then coming in over the summer and they're doing phenomenally well? But I think what Dr. Tyson said is a lot of that work in the focus school plan with wraparound services that are happening at every school. We're just trying to get people to look at that testing environment. How do we make it a little bit different during the school year so we don't have these kids coming in over the summer doing phenomenally well the second time around?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion to send this to the full board?
So moved. Okay, second.
Is that a second? All in favor?
That's his second. Oh.
3-0. Thank you. A restart application?
Yes, our final action item will also be shared by Dr. Tyson with the restart application.
Right. So as mentioned in the memo that you had access to, we currently have 5 restart schools: Benton Heights Elementary, East Elementary, Walter Bickett, and then East Union and Monroe Middle School. The way that DPI looks at restart is they are in a cohort model, and now we are on cohort 9 in the state of North Carolina. Schools are eligible to apply for restart flexibilities if they are reoccurring low performing. And of course, we have 3 schools that would be eligible to begin that application process in October that are currently not receiving restart flexibilities. When you hear restart flexibilities, they are provided flexibilities much like a charter, so charter-like flexibilities. And so we have 3 schools that we are asking to begin the application in October with the state of North Carolina. We were made aware of this when we had DPI on site working with our other restart schools about a week and a half ago. They were working on a annual plan, and the gentleman that was leading from DPI, he and I were having conversations, and this was brought up. It does require the approval of the board for us to fill the application out with DPI. There's no guarantee if we go through the application phase that it will be awarded, but we have been successful in the past. And of course, myself and Dr. Daniels would work closely with these schools to make sure that our proposal and application was as detail oriented as possible. Ultimately, the goal would be to utilize these flexibilities to best support these schools so they could then increase performance and move off the low performing list. One question that you may have is if they do go into restart status and are provided these flexibilities, they are provided these flexibilities for 5 consecutive years before they would have to go through the revision or reapplication phase. Our 3 elementary schools are in the reapplication phase currently. So the 3 schools are Sun Valley Middle, Parkwood Middle, and Monroe High School. So what we are asking is for board approval to move forward with the application for restart in October. I see Ms. McLam is still on the call. She can answer any questions specific to funding, but these flexibilities are beneficial to our schools.
Does anyone have any questions? No. Need a motion to send this to the full board for approval?
So moved.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you. Okay, our next meeting date is October 23rd at 10 a.m. via Zoom, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Thanks.
Thank you.